It is Wednesday, the 9th of July, 2025, and I usually don't do evening videos, but I had a busy day after my video this morning, and I got home, had a shower, and I was listening to a YouTube video that was shared to me from someone that was at a birthday party with me a few months ago, and anyways, I was watching that, and I just had to come on, and although um, I don't really like Rebel News, like certain people within their broadcast community, like Ezra Levant. I think that he's a simp for Netanyahu, who is a literal criminal. I do really like people like Robert Krychek and Alexa Lavoie, and oh my goodness, I forget what her name is. Uglioni or Lugioni, and a few others out of Alberta. I think some people are great within Rebel News, and I don't think that they necessarily agree with people like Ezra Levant, despite the fact that he's kind of like the boss of the broadcasting community, Rebel News. And but I need to share these videos, and I'm going to give some context to some of them as well. I'm going to share first this one because this is one that was shared to me, and then I looked at another video that just popped up on my feed, and I was just like, oh my god, this is just absolutely disgusting to me how we are tolerating this within Canada. And I'm saying, like, this just takes education, peaceful, and people within the like law enforcement and the legal system and cabinet to do their jobs in order to remedy this, instead of making this where there has to be people like this guy right here that is having to take matters into his own hands. And so again, this is from Rebel News, but again, it's because Alexa Lavoie is on. I'm going to share it. The title is Disgusting. Community speaks out against alleged foreigners staring at female swimmers at pool.
Did you see an increase of this new? It's not really new, but this phenomenon increasing with the fact that we receive a massive new immigrants here in Quebec and in Canada.
I wouldn't say so. I don't think there's a correlation between race and like that movement, no.
Mais je sais qu'en Europe, ça fait depuis des décennies que ça existe.
And I do like his point, and has more to do with culture, ideology, morals, integrity, what people are allowed to get away with that they wouldn't even get away with in their own countries that they come from. And so, like, I do agree with him on that first point as well.
Là, c'est important de dire non. Le Québec.
Okay, so if you're not hearing this, we have to say no. Quebec and Canada are very open cultures, but there are still lines we need to draw.
Canada, c'est une culture très ouverte, mais il y a des choses qu'il faut dire non. C'est pas raciste de dire non à
saying no to certain behavior isn't racist.
Certaines choses, puis moi j'aimerais ça que les
I really like to see real feminists speak up. They seem to have a double standard.
féministes, les vrais féministes, ils disent assez à ça. Tu sais, eux, ils ont un double standard où on dirait, tu sais, c'est comment, non?
Like they're afraid to criticize certain things because they might be called a racist or a bigot or a fascist.
On peut pas trop chialer contre ça parce que c'est raciste.
De pas avoir peur de dénoncer.
And this woman's saying we shouldn't be afraid to speak out.
Je pense que les gens...
People have held back out of fear of being called racist or intolerant, but this isn't about racism or intolerance.
ont été beaucoup retenus par la peur, puis à peur de se faire traiter de raciste ou d'intolérant, mais c'est pas une question de racisme ou d'intolérance, c'est tolérance zéro pour tout le monde.
It's zero tolerance for inappropriate behavior from anyone.
Monde d'agir de la sorte avec...
Mass immigration has brought many challenges, and what I'm about to show you is one of the most concerning. Women and children no longer feel safe. Incidents of staring, groping, and inappropriate behavior have been reported multiple times right here in Montreal's public swimming pools.
And it's not even just Montreal, like it's even in Carleton Place, in parks, child's parks. It's happening in Ottawa and so many different locations. It's in and around major city centers now in Canada.
Alexa Lavoie reporting from Montreal at the public pool in Jarry Park, a place that should be safe for families and children. Instead, it has become a hotspot for disturbing incidents. Multiple reports have surfaced of women and children being stared at, followed, and even lured. Photos of some of the alleged individuals involved have been circulating online, but the issue goes far beyond just a few images. This isn't a new problem. Similar incidents were reported in previous years, but complaints are now becoming more frequent. Today, concerned citizens have gathered here to raise awareness, patrol the parks, and call for concrete action. Some mainstream media outlets have covered the story, but without naming the root cause. The men seen in the circulated photos appear to be Indian nationals or from other immigrant backgrounds.
Piscine, des choses de piscine. Quand moi, c'est bon, la chaussée, puis ils prennent les photos. Fait que moi, je suis allé voir, c'est bon.
Souvent, sont à l'intérieur.
Ouais. Ouais. Puis, c'est pas du racisme, hein. C'est pas encore ces hindous. On parle
Des, sur Internet, des Sud-Asiatiques.
Ouais, c'est pas asiatique, c'est plutôt
Les Indiens. Ben, c'est ça, Sud.
Ouais, c'est asiatique. C'est là, quoi. Moi, quand j'ai été revenu l'année passée, il y en avait 3. Et excuse-moi, je prends des photos des femmes que si vous avez. Mais quand tu viens dans l'époque avec ta femme, elle est cachée jusque-là. Ouais, c'est pas logique. Non. C'est pareil qu'ils font au volleyball là-bas.
OK.
Les 4 filles qui jouent là avec des seringues, tu sais.
Ah ouais.
Il y a jamais spectateur, puis là, un matin, il l'avait. Fait que ça les voit les gars, ils disent, hey, bon, on peut pas rester là.
With mass immigration, we are not only welcoming people, we are also importing cultural behaviors that often clash with Canadian values, especially when integration fails. We have seen this pattern before in other countries. Look at Germany. Similar issues in public swimming pool began to rise in 2016 following former Chancellor Angela Merkel's decision in 2015 to open the borders to over 1 million migrants. Since then, reports of sexual harassment and assault in public spaces have increased significantly. Here in Montreal, police presence in the park has recently increased, but the question remains, for how long? Let's hear from the people who are here today.
So basically, I saw like a trend going on like Reddit, the Montreal subreddit that was like going on with Parc Jarry and more specifically the pool. There was a lot of people complaining that people were snooping around, looking at them more exactly like of the female like identifying gender, and they were saying like, oh, like people followed me like around like 8 p.m. when I was running, or like stuff like I was there with my kid and there was this group of men that were looking at us constantly for like an hour or so. And a lot of people said like over the years they stopped coming here because of that. And I was like, okay, there's some sort of sensitization missing, and like it would be nice if people would be more sensitized to acting up when they see those things happening, right?
Did you see an increase of this new, it's not really new, but this phenomenon increasing with the fact that we receive a massive new immigrants here in Quebec and in Canada?
I wouldn't say so. I don't think there's a correlation between race and like that movement, no. I think it's really as a social structure, men think they can get away with things they shouldn't be able to. What stood out to me is how people were so easily ready to make it a racial thing where it really shouldn't be. That's not the point. It doesn't matter what culture or what race is like guilty of doing the act. That's a thing as a whole globally we see with the patriarchy being a thing. Like,
Oui, en fait, donc le 1er juillet, c'était férié. J'étais ici avec une amie qui aime visiter la piscine. Moi, ça fait 5 ans que je viens à la piscine Jarry, puis on adore ça, c'est une piscine de quartier. Mais dans les 2-3 dernières années, on a vu ces comportements-là s'appliquer, des comportements louches, tout ça. Donc, on était un peu plus aux aguets de voir est-ce qu'il y en a aujourd'hui des rôdeurs louches. Donc, on s'est installé en maillot de bain, on se baigne et tout ça, puis on voit 3 hommes en groupe, mais qui se dispersent petit à petit pour avoir l'air peut-être moins d'un groupe louche, d'être 3 individus. Puis ils se placent chacun des endroits autour de la piscine, accrochés comme ça dans la grille à regarder les gens, sans bouger, là, juste fixer les enfants, les gens qui sautent, surtout dans le plongeon. Ici, c'est des enfants, là. Donc là, nous, on est là à bronzer, on les regarde, on est comme, c'est pas possible, ça se passe sous nos yeux, tu sais. Donc, on se dit, on va leur laisser 5 minutes. Tu sais, 5 minutes de peut-être que c'est pas ça qu'ils font, peut-être, on sait pas, ils attendent quelqu'un, on sait pas. Donc, on leur laisse les 5 minutes de bonne grâce. Puis là, ça continue. Il y en a un, là, ça nous écœurait, là, le regard insistant, tout ça qui fixait les jeunes. Donc là, mon amie, elle me dit, OK, on va lui parler. On va lui dire. Donc, on se lève, on se rhabille, bien sûr. Puis on va lui dire, allô, je m'excuse, il va falloir quitter parce que là, c'est dégueulasse ce que vous faites, vous fixez les enfants, faut partir. Là, il nous regarde, il dit, non, non, non. Puis il continue à regarder. On est comme, il va falloir que vous quittiez tout de suite, allez n'importe où dans le parc, mais vous faites pas ça ici, sinon on appelle la police. Puis dès qu'il a entendu police, oh, là c'était oui, oui, oui. Là, je m'en vais. Puis tout le reste du temps qu'on était là, on a regardé s'il revenait, justement. Puis ses deux autres amis aussi se sont dispersés un peu, ils étaient plus loin, mais c'est plate que ça en vienne à ces interventions-là. Tu sais, c'est pas à nous. On bronze, là, on fait notre petite journée relax. C'est pas à nous d'aller les voir. Puis en tant que femme aussi, c'est intimidant aussi aller voir, tu sais, des rassemblements d'hommes, tout ça, leur dire ça, c'est pas à nous de faire ça. Fait qu'on est un peu triste que ça soit le mot police qui les fasse décamper, et non pas respect des autres, ne pas regarder des enfants se baigner. Fait que
These kinds of behaviors are not acceptable in our civil society, in our norms. I can understand in other cultures, maybe in other way of livings, in other societies, they could be banalized or normalized or accepted. But here in Quebec, we cannot just close our eyes and says, okay, this what's happening, and we do nothing.
It's about justice. I'm free to go to the park whenever I want. I feel safe. So I realize now that that's a privilege that women do not share.
Exactly.
That's unfair.
And children.
And so I'm going to step down that privilege and I'm going to put my safety on the line if I have to. These creeps, not anymore. It's over. It's over hiding behind plausible deniability.
Ignorance.
To do voyeurism. Voyeurism requires consent. And I'm going to enforce that if I have to. I don't trust the police.
Mais je comprends pas qu'il n'y ait pas personne déjà qui ait été voir ces gens-là pour les faire partir. Que ça a pris, comme j'entendais, que ça fait des années que les gens font ça, qu'ils s'assoient pour regarder. Je comprends pas qu'il n'y ait pas personne déjà depuis longtemps qui n'aurait pas réagi à ça.
On ne sait pas trop ce qu'il y a en arrière de ça au fond. Là, on n'ose pas, il y a des choses qu'on n'a pas le droit de dire. Fait que je venais voir de mes propres yeux, savoir où est le problème exactement. C'est-tu un problème d'homme ou c'est un problème de culture?
Bon. C'est ça, c'est un problème qu'on commence à voir ici. Malheureusement, moi, j'ai été surpris de savoir que ça faisait 3 ans que ça durait, mais je sais qu'en Europe, ça fait depuis des décennies que ça existe, ce problème-là. C'est important de dire non. Le Québec puis le Canada, c'est une culture très ouverte, mais il y a des choses qu'il faut dire non. C'est pas raciste de dire non à certaines choses, puis il y a certaines cultures qui viennent du Moyen-Orient qui, pour eux, c'est normal de faire ça. Ils arrivent ici.
I mean, it's not even just the Middle East. It's and I hate saying it because again, like people get canceled for this stuff. I've had my house doxxed. I've been targeted, etc., for sharing this information. But people even coming from India and Pakistan, etc.
Ils pensent que c'est comme ça, mais on doit.
And maybe I'll say it now. And so, like a few months ago, I went to a 1-year-old's birthday party. And there was a certain group there, and I like it did feel very uncomfortable. And I'm in my 40s, you know, and I can take care of myself for the most part. But again, these are men, and there was a whole group of men, old men, that were waiting at the women's bathrooms the entire night. So I didn't even feel comfortable enough to go to the bathroom that entire time that I was there because it was a later party. And then when I went on the dance floor with a couple of my cousins, they were literally in our faces with their cameras up, like recording us and stuff like that. And it was like really, really inappropriate. And no other people were speaking up on our behalf. And like we could have spoke up, obviously, but instead we just left the dance floor. And and so like even that, like it's just inappropriate. And I know people, like men listening to this, is probably like, oh, what's the problem? It's not a big deal. But you're not dealing with it at the same level that women and children are dealing with this at. It's very uncomfortable at the very least.
Par dire non, tout simplement. Et écoute, tu sais, depuis 2017, Montréal, c'est une ville ouverte. On accueille n'importe qui sans papier, puis on ne fait pas de screening, on ne fait pas de filtrage. Ça laisse lieu à ce genre de débordement.
Comment vous décririez les hommes en question? Est-ce que ce sont des gens qui émergent justement de l'immigration? Quel âge avaient-ils?
Oui, ben, je veux dire, c'est sûr, je sais pas d'où ils venaient, mais ça semblait être tout un regroupement d'hommes d'origine similaire, issus de l'immigration. Puis, ils étaient pas super jeunes, peut-être comme la trentaine, 40 environ. ils semblaient tous se connaître, là, c'est ça. Moi, ça fait plusieurs que je vois, puis c'est ça, c'est des groupes qui arrivent ensemble, puis ensuite, ils se dispersent. C'est toujours des hommes, il n'y a pas de femmes avec eux.
And you see, since we are here, there are two men that they were doing the same behavior there. And one of the ladies who was with us get there and give them the flyer that we had and told them that police will be here and they cannot do the same behavior over and over. Then we were live at this scene. We were there, you know.
One of my main questions is something that people are not really talking about, but by bringing a lot of people who have different culture in their country who are not adapting here, do you think it can be like one of the causes of?
I believe that all these cultural differences, they can be overcome with good communication, with goodwill and stuff and everything. We will integrate them successfully over time. But in the meantime, these women are not safe, and that takes priority.
Mhm.
These men, they don't lose much by being kicked out of the park.
Mhm.
These women, they lose a lot every day.
Ça, mais je pense que culturellement, s'ils ne savent pas qu'ici, c'est normal pour des femmes et des enfants d'aller se baigner en maillot de bain, tout ça, si pour eux, c'est pas normal, ben là, eux aussi vivent un choc culturel, mais nous, faut qu'on en parle avec eux, faut que la discussion soit ouverte, faut que ça soit dit dès le départ. Ici, vous venez, puis ça, c'est les règles. Ici, c'est correct. On peut être femme puis se promener en petit maillot de bain si on veut, puis c'est correct. C'est ça ici, le Québec, tu sais.
And it made me think about the moral police in Iran, because we had some sessions of information that moral police came to our schools when we were at high school to raise awareness that if we don't have a good hijab, we are sending this message to men, to a Muslim man, that we are available and we are okay to be harassed, to be be raped or whatever, because we put in this is an open bar and we put in their availability our body. Then it comes to us to cover up ourselves and to show them that there is no interest. It was for me a big nightmare all my adolescent years, because I was thinking all the time that if I'm arrested by the moral police in the detention, they rape these girls. Because they told them you wanted to have this. That's why you didn't cover yourself up. This is a huge psychological charge on mental and on the mind of these women and these girls. And one of the reasons that Muslim women want absolutely to immigrate to these Western countries, because we are free here, we feel secure. And I don't want to see the same kind of pattern, same kind of behavior in my country. That's now the patrie of my kids, you know, that the same culture and the same values and the same manner is coming here. This is not acceptable.
J'ai vu beaucoup la ville changer. Puis je peux pas dire que c'est pour le mieux. Malgré qu'on a des super belles installations où est-ce que les gens peuvent pratiquer justement des activités sportives, des loisirs, et je trouve que justement, on n'a pas assez été ferme sur nos valeurs, sur les règles à suivre, le comportement à adopter ici, chez nous.
Moi, j'ai eu beaucoup d'immigrants qui ont travaillé pour moi dans ma vie. Le problème, c'est pas la quantité, c'est la qualité des immigrants. Si on fait notre job comme il faut à l'entrée, puis on fait une sélection pour s'assurer que les gens qui arrivent ici partagent nos valeurs, il n'y en a pas de problème.
Mais je pense que si j'avais, tu sais, 12, 15, 20 ans ici à la piscine, j'aurais pas agi pareil. J'aurais été stressée, j'aurais été pas bien dans ma peau, je serais peut-être partie aussi, je serais plus revenue à la piscine. Mais je dirais à Montréal, en général, c'est sécuritaire. C'est juste que je pense que en tant que femme, on doit toujours quand même être sur nos aguets. Donc, c'est sécuritaire, mais tu regardes quand même toujours derrière toi. Tu sais, je rentre la nuit, j'ai mes clés dans mes mains au cas où. On ne sait pas. J'ai toujours, tu sais, je rentre puis je regarde derrière moi la nuit, j'ai toujours mon téléphone pas loin. Donc, je pense que c'est des mesures de sécurité à prendre de base, malheureusement, en tant que femme.
Unfortunately, this marriage, we call it the terrible marriage between the left and Islamism movements. It created this Islamo-leftist ideology, which want to reduce everything to spirituality and everything is okay and to not take the thing seriously. I see that, and I see how the girls could be intimidated in high school. Since many years, I had many witnessing, and even women, and everything is getting bad, and it's really stressed me up. We are voting for these politicians. We are in a democracy. I cannot believe that they just don't care. We should, as citizens, we should go and take them accountable for their choices, for their policies, because if not, they will close their eyes and they are in their comfortable chairs and they will not do anything. The other thing is that maybe to really rely more on alternative media. You know, I had an even public event with Florence Bergeau Blaclair, who is a big brain and a specialist of Muslim Brotherhood in Europe. And I ask exactly the same question that you ask me, that when we are censored, when there is we have no place in traditional media to express our wariness, in our perspective, and our all these thoughts, what we should do. And she answered me, just let them down and listen to alternative medias and go. This is a North American society. When they see that there is no more people watching them, they will, or buying their products, that will make them think that their way of doing things are not democratic.
Moi, j'aimerais ça que les féministes, les vrais féministes, ils disent assez à ça. Tu sais, eux, ils ont un double standard où on dirait, tu sais, c'est comme, oh non, on peut pas trop chialer contre ça parce que c'est raciste, parce que ça va devenir hors de contrôle. En Europe, c'est un gros problème. Les piscines, en France, en ce moment, il y a en Allemagne, je veux dire, c'est des gros débordements, là. Tu sais, ça vient d'immigration qui est trop massive, mal contrôlée, mal filtrée.
Je pense que les gens ont été beaucoup retenus par la peur, puis à peur de se faire traiter de raciste ou d'intolérant, mais c'est pas une question de racisme ou d'intolérance, c'est tolérance zéro pour tout le monde d'agir de la sorte.
Why do you think the society, and especially I'm talking about mainstream media or other people, don't want to tackle and to name the problem that it is because of mass immigration that we receive?
Yeah, because I think, I believe actually firmly that there is a huge power imposition from this new left movements, a totalitarian vision that censor all other comments and all other views in our political world, in our municipality, in our even federal government. We witnessed that Mark Carney said that Islamic values are Canadian values, which make them feel very confident about having exactly the same behavior that they receive in Islamic education, you know. The people are afraid of consequences. I have some friends who have been, who are working in the system, and they told me that they got warnings from the unions that they are going to lose their job if they talk.
Ça, c'est le propre de notre société moderne. On n'ose jamais dire les vraies choses, sinon on se fait accuser de toutes sortes de racisme, etc. C'est pas parce qu'on dénonce une situation qu'on est raciste, là. Mais c'est ça notre société woke aujourd'hui, là.
Ouais, c'est sûr, c'est délicat ça, parce que ici, autant qu'on essaie d'être le plus accommodant, ouvert possible, le mot raciste ressort souvent. Donc, c'est sûr que plus on cohabite avec des gens issus de minorités diverses de partout dans le monde, de cultures différentes, de religions, plus tout le monde cohabite ensemble, plus il va y avoir des frictions.
And to have a man like Trump who can take care of these totalitarian minds, you know, we have everywhere now, in our journals, in our medias, in our traditional medias. This is not possible in a democracy. I'm so disappointed of this democracy that I'm seeing since last years, that there is censorship and there is no other place for other ideas to be exposed.
The mainstream media try to hide the problem that is happening right here in Montreal. This is mainly because of the mass immigration we receive in recent years. If you believe and you want to support our work, please go over rebelfieldreports.com because we at Rebel, we will show you the truth.
So that was a great video. I'm going to share another one because it's kind of a 180 of what I'm sharing now, but still very relevant and topical. And it also has to do with extreme leftist ideologies. I'm not saying liberal, by the way. And this is fully supported and enabled by our legal system, justice system, by people within cabinet, certain mayors. And I'm a little bit late on this because this was from the 3rd of July, so almost a week ago. But topic is, and again, it's Alexa Lavoie, which is the title of this video, but nudity and excess at Toronto Pride 2025 spark controversy.
To enjoy nudity, yeah?
Children don't care.
The nudity is a bit much. You know, it's like, I don't need to see old men walking around here nude. I think that's in our realm of offensiveness, for anyone.
I mean, they're just bodies, so I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's sometimes unnecessary, but like, people want to express themselves, and who am I to judge? I'm still gonna bring my children here and celebrate the day. So
yeah, she brought her children there.
Hi, I'm Alexa reporting for Rebel News at the 2025 Gay Pride event here in Toronto. This marks the first Pride celebration since the US election that saw Donald Trump return to the presidency. We have witnessed a noticeable cultural shift between Canada and the United States, especially following the implementation of Title IX, which recognized only men and women as genders. Meanwhile, Canada continues to follow a progressive path, promoting transgender rights, particularly under the leadership of Mark Carney. We have also seen major corporations begin to pull funding from Pride events and roll back their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. I'm here to speak with voices on the ground to find out what the other side has to say and to bring you a perspective you won't see in the mainstream media. And don't worry, we have blurred out the nudity that was definitely present today. Let's check it out. So, can I ask you quickly a couple of questions? I want to know what bring you out there today.
I'm a nudist and I'm a gay person, and I've been doing this for a long time. I live in Toronto. Here to experience the freedom.
Do you describe yourself as gay, bisexual, queer?
Straight.
Straight? You're just like here to enjoy nudity? Yeah?
Non, merci.
If you can identify yourself?
Non, c'est correct.
Vous parlez français?
Ah, ben oui.
Ah, vous me connaissez?
Ben oui. On vous suit.
Québec, Montréal.
Vous faites de l'excellent travail sur certains enjeux, mais certains enjeux comme la fierté puis la nudité,
Mais non, en fait.
c'est une différente histoire.
Why you came here today and how you identify yourself?
Well, yes. First of all, I'm gay. That's because I identify myself. Why I'm here? It's my local pride, so why not be here? Really, it's that simple.
Can you explain a little bit why people are wearing masks, the dog mask?
Well, it depends on every person who wears it. A lot of it has to do with something called pet play. It's basically part of the BDSM like umbrella, I guess. And it's one person may act a little bit like a dog, and then the other one is the handler or the owner in a sense.
Because I think it's growing in popularity. I see more and more and more people.
I don't think necessarily that it grows in popularity. I just think that a lot more people let themselves express it and don't hide it as much. Because it's always been there and it's always been part of, like, even straight people do it. It's not just a gay thing.
BDSM. So I have someone I call a sir. So I am a submissive to that person.
I'm non-binary. I'm here because it's my first time coming to Toronto Pride.
I'm also gender queer, non-binary, whatever you want to call it. Pronouns are they, them.
And we're here for their first Pride. I've been here a couple times, but it's their first. So
I identify myself as one person. Unless you have multiple personalities, you are one person. I will never use they, them pronouns. I will call you by your name.
Amen. Pronounce he, him. And I come to Toronto. I'm actually from Montreal, and I come to Toronto because the vibe here in Toronto is very different than what we got in Montreal. And I come in leather to represent the fetish and the kink community, who are also part of Pride.
I'm gay and obviously to celebrate Pride. I'm a newly drag queen. I just started doing drag back in November.
You probably saw in the recent years lots of backlash towards drag queen going in schools or just performing in front of children. Do you believe that drag queen have their space there with children?
I believe drag is an art, and art can be interpreted in so many ways.
But do you think they are enough, old enough to understand everything?
Fortunately, there's not. I feel like there's still a lot of learning for the community to do. We deserve that space to be around the children, the people who we're actually raising money for, and they're our future. So they need to be as well educated that drag can be anything you want.
I'm a trans woman, and I was born in this town. I've seen everything what this town has done since I was born. When I was a kid, if you were queer, you were in lots of trouble because everybody would beat you up, and then the cops would come and they would beat you up too. If you were a teacher, you could lose your job. So there's some social progress here. I hope we don't deteriorate like the United States.
I really do hope we see that more often. I believe the schools could do a lot more of educating about the gay community. We are a community that we are growing. There's so many ways that you could represent.
Teach them about fetishes and kink and bondage, you fucking freaks. Oh my God. LGBT, like even T, there are people that are legitimately trans, and they're also people speaking out on this, saying that this is not helping the community at all. And you're victimizing children, grooming, etc. when you do stuff like that and introduce that type of stuff, like in public spaces, in the classroom.
And the LGBTQ 2+S.
So you are saying that you want more drag queen, more books, more...
I feel like the more education the younger generations have, it will be the better for the future.
Okay.
We'll be seeing a lot less discrimination. Right now, yes, gays are okay and everything, but trans, drag queens, they're being the target now.
There, look good. I want to see your cock.
Yeah.
There you go. I got pink, I got blue, I got...
I want to see your cock. Yeah, that's funny. And we know that today it's a family-friendly event. What do you think about all the nudity that we are seeing, like a lot of people walking naked around children? Do you think it's appropriate?
I don't really think it's appropriate for in terms of women going topless or whatever, that's a for the nipple thing, and that's fine because men go shirtless, but I think generally speaking genitalia probably not the best thing to do without when you're not in an environment that you have explicit consent for people to actually be saying that. I don't
Look at that.
think I generally support that.
Children don't care.
No?
Have you ever asked children if they care about nudity?
You're traumatized.
The only reason people say that children are offended is because the people are telling the children that it is wrong. But if you ask the children, they don't give.
Yeah.
They don't care.
The full, I will give my 2 cents. The full nudity, I don't think so. But as far as Toronto goes, it is free. People here do that. In Montreal, for example, we wouldn't have that. The full nudity, I do have my reservations about because there are children around. But at the same time, that's just my opinion, and people are free to do whatever they want. So if they can do it, they'll do it.
If people want to bring their children here knowing that people are going to be here naked, that is entirely up to them. I don't think there's anything wrong with showing this is how you were born. Everybody was born naked, so
The nudity is a bit much. It's like I don't need to see old men walking around here nude. I think that's in our realm of offensiveness.
Children walking around when there's naked people, they're not the right age, honestly, to be looking at certain things with the body parts or anything like that. So they definitely could respect a little more.
Nudity is okay on Pride anyway. Do you know the story about the Pride nudity? Back in 2002, a group of nudists decided to walk on the parade, and so they got arrested. When they got to court, the DA looked at the problem and they decided that they could not press any charges because the reason they gave is that they were wearing shoes. So technically they're not naked.
So you're wearing shoes, so you're okay.
I'm technically not naked.
There is a difference also, in my humble opinion, from a baby being naked when they're born and this old man's friggin' naked body, right? There's different levels of development we have to consider here.
Personally, I don't think it's something that we need to shy about because a body is a body. And also, people who bring their children here should be aware that this is something that does happen. At that point, if you're coming to Pride and all that, like you're going to see people wearing harnesses and all that stuff. Is a naked body worse than puphood and harness and all that?
Children can see themselves in the mirror, so I don't think that it's actually too much of a problem, especially because it's not technically illegal.
How many 2-year-olds are developed like that and have like nipple rings and stuff like that? And again, I'm not a prude or anything like that, but like this is over the top. I do agree with though, like if you know that there's going to be nudity and bondage and kink and fetishes at these parades, don't bring your kids. Don't do it. Why are you doing that? Why are there infants there?
Here, if a child has questions, their parents should be able to answer those questions without any sort of fear of judgment or any sort of fear of those children thinking anything is sexual, because no one's being particularly sexual on the street today. If it's not sexual, it's not a problem.
I don't think that
No, absolutely not. That's what really gets on my nerves, because we're trying to promote Pride as being a whole family thing. Don't walk naked down the street. Like, come on. Like, save that for the nightlife,
Definitely. I think that the human body shouldn't be an issue of shame, and stop teaching children that there's something shameful about their bodies. I mean, the whole thing of sexuality as well, when you repress that, and I grew up in a time when parents didn't really want to speak to their children about sexuality, even, and you had to read a book or find out from your peers or whatever. So I just believe there shouldn't be anything shameful about the human body. Sometimes I see parents trying to shield their eyes, the kids' eyes, from me because I'm not wearing clothes, and I just think, really, are you really protecting them?
Yeah, they are.
There is a lot of nudity today. Let's ask the parents how they feel about it. We are just asking the people quickly how they feel to see a lot of naked people with children around.
I think it's a very good event for children. We need to be honest with our children about love. Love is love, and we are heterosexual, but it's okay if they choose. We are from Argentina, and we are very happy to be here.
Okay, and that doesn't offend you,
Oh no, I love he learned about the love. Love is building every day.
I mean, they're just bodies, so I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's sometimes unnecessary, but people want to express themselves, and who am I to judge?
Yeah.
I'm still going to bring my children here and celebrate the day. So
Did that affect a little bit your children? Did they ask?
They're very curious about it. We haven't gotten far without them pointing at it, asking about it. But I think it's a good opportunity to bring out conversations that need to happen, maybe that we're afraid to have as parents, and normalize certain things that probably need to be spoken about more often. So
one thing they always said in the past, do not touch children, or you will have the opposite effects of tolerance towards the community. Do you think it is maybe a little bit for this reason that we are seeing more and more people being reluctant to the community?
There's a known fact in the psychology community that the heterosexuals are the ones abusing the kids. Statistics show that. So that's a myth, and it's in that realm of bullying. You know, it's what it is, the greatest hypocrisy one could be, right? It's actually a form of projection transference at a subconscious level of the heterosexual. Yeah. That'll shake some foundations, right? If they ever really knew the truth.
I don't know if it's a increase in intolerance, but more so people feel more confident in being open about being intolerant. They don't feel like it's social.
And it's also about statistics and access. And so heterosexual couples are the ones having children. But if you look at adoptions and statistics on abuse of children, and even just like recently in the last few days, there was again, I don't want to target a specific group, but again, I want this to be clear, that they raped their 18-month-old to death. And oh my goodness, I want to get into more of this stuff, but I won't. But again, this guy is just doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not looking at real stats.
Actually unacceptable as much anymore. It's more they feel like they're allowed to do it because the people in power also do it. They give them permission.
And they just need a scapegoat for their problems.
Yeah.
So
Why do you think we see so many companies pulling out their money from the Pride? We are seeing here in Toronto, but I think it's a little bit everywhere.
I think it's really just a money-making decision. They see what's happening in the U.S. and other parts of the world. They see it as maybe we shouldn't openly support these types of people because we want as much money as possible. It's just a money game to them. It's never been something that they did.
I think it's just because it's getting out of control. I also think that the LGBT community has been hijacked by perverts and deviants, part of the MAP community as well, minor attracted persons, and people with all these fetishes and kinks and stuff like that are ruining the movement that had already won. Able to get married, there was tolerance, all of this stuff. No one gives a shit anymore if you're gay or lesbian. Like, no one cares, or at least a large majority of people don't care. And but it's the other stuff that people are sick and tired of, and they're seeing what's happening with it.
For actually supporting the community, it's just been if they feel like it will make them more money to support the community.
What do nudists have to do with LGBT even? And again, like, it's been hijacked, and even the T community has been hijacked. And I give the example of this woman that was going to be a federal judge. Luckily, she got voted out, but it was one vote away. One Democrat that voted no, the rest did. Friggin' disgusting, with a guy that was a literal rapist pedophile that was allowed to go into a female prison, and issues with that as well, because he finally, identified as a woman, because he did not want to go to a male's prison. Again, these are people that are hijacking the community and not making it a better place, if that makes any sense.
Community, they'll be open about it. If they feel like it will make them more money to not openly support the community, that's what they'll do.
A lot of them are American companies, and they're realizing now that because of how America is going, they don't have to support it like they used to. So they're not. So they're pulling their funding. That's my opinion, anyways.
Then there's the security costs, and then there are now Google and what? Okay, we won't even. Okay, I know. I hate telling them. Yeah, don't shop at Home Depot, guys. Rona, okay.
In Toronto, Mayor Olivia Chow, that we should boycott the companies actually that are removing their money. Do you agree with that? And why we are seeing more companies removing the money?
I just bought some stuff at Home Depot the other day.
I believe that the companies removing the money and all that is probably an answer to what the president of the United States is doing, like just the rhetoric and all that. There's a lot of companies also in the US that have done it. Personally, if it is not a huge inconvenience or if you don't depend on one of those companies, I do believe a boycott might be a good idea, just to basically show them that we will not be persecuted and we will not be forgotten. The thing that to remember is that Pride didn't start as a parade, it started as actually a protest, just to say we are here and we deserve human rights. And that's valid for everyone, and if companies don't want to acknowledge that, they probably need to learn the lesson with our...
I don't think people care that you're gay. I think it has to do with you identifying as a friggin' furry. Oh my God, I can't.
And all that.
You can do what you want to do with your money, and you're going to have to put your money wherever you speak. A lot of companies right now in America got rid of their DIE, like, what do you call it?
Diversity.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I stopped putting my money there because if I'm not welcome there, I'm not going to fund that corporate. So I don't live in Toronto, so I don't have a say on what's happening here. I don't live here.
What do you think about what is happening in the US and some people saying that they feel unsafe over there?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the people volunteered to stay blind. At least in Canada, we have a leader that I'm impressed actually that we have a leader that he knows all about banking and everything else like that. And some people they say, oh, he's just making money for himself, but at least he's trying to look out for the country at the same time. Whereas their leader, I don't know, he tells so many lies that how can you make a deal with somebody who's going to change their mind in 10 minutes, right?
I do not feel particularly safe in the United States at all. We would actually like to move to Canada to get away from.
Probably just unsafe with the political changes going on right now. There's a lot of hate and a lot of new law and changes and stuff to that.
It's an intergenerational systemic conditioning. It's grounded in ignorance.
I am actually scared for my friends in the US because I have a lot of friends who are LGBTQ plus and also who are Hispanic and or people of color in general, and it is actually a scare of them that just get deported randomly. So yes, I do agree that there might be a little bit to be scared of because they seem to just get rid of anybody that doesn't conform to their own personal standards.
Oh my God, that was painful to watch. I'm sorry. I had to watch it, so you had to watch it too. I'm just going to show a short little bit of another video, and then I'm going to end it because I want to vomit a little bit. But anyways, talking about like being afraid for your safety. If you're part of this community, then you could be deported. No one's deporting LGBTQ. Like they're largely, and again, like it's not going to be perfect, but it's people that are rapists, people that are criminals, people that are drug traffickers, people that are weapons traffickers, people that enter the country illegally. And so it's just so frustrating when these people are the ignorant ones and they get the biggest voices. I did have to share this. Staff Sergeant Camille Havel from the RCMP.
If someone you know was very believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards like traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist.
If people start adopting more traditional values, that moron is saying that it could be considered extremism. And I can't even believe that came out of her mouth, an RCMP officer, a staff sergeant, and just mind blowing. Again, I'm not going to show the entire video. It's Jasmine Lane. I just want to make sure that I got her name right. Yes. Take a look at that video. It's absolutely incredible. But anyways, that first intro to that video, absolutely shocking to me. And I just wanted to share that with people. I hope that goes viral. I hope she gets fired. And so anyways, on that note, I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.